Hello, and thank you for joining us on the Exploring Consciousness podcast.
And welcome to another episode with your co-host, Donna Rebadow, and me, Natasha Williams.
This podcast is a field guide for people who would like some help and guidance on their spiritual path. I introduce, review, and share consciousness in its many dimensions. This is for the curious adventurer who isn't afraid of asking for help. So dream, dare, and let's begin today's episode. Hello, Exploring Consciousness podcast listeners. Today we have a very good friend of ours, Reverend Bill McDonald, and my co-host is with me, Dr. Natasha Williams. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Donna. Good morning, Rev. How are you?
Shout out from California this morning.
Very nice.
So a quick reminder to everyone that on Monday we did a whole intro to Reverend Bill. So make sure you go back into your social media and the companion website to hear that introduction. So welcome. And Natasha's going to get us started. Natasha.
Absolutely. Now, as a practitioner, Reverend Bill, I'm seeing a wonderful shift in the patients coming in terms of healing. Once upon a time, nobody spoke about how they're feeling energy-wise. They would just simply kind of lay on the table and look at me and say, fix me. But I'm seeing a transition where people are asking, how can I help myself in terms of healing? Now, I'm wondering about this shift, and how are you seeing this? Are you feeling and sensing this transition that people are having, and why do you think this is happening now? Why now?
First off, there's some people that are kind of aware things are happening, and then they're never going to get it. They're still backstage. They have no idea there's even an audience, and they're on stage, So, but having lived as long as I have, and I've had an opportunity over a long period of decades to see an unfolding of how socially acceptable it is, number one, for men in particular, to talk about their feelings, especially that is changing. And also people coming to me for help. 15 years ago, they weren't so open to me talking about frequency, energy, vibration. They're attracting everything. They were more, 15, 20 years ago, we were more into, I'm a victim. How do I heal the past? Instead of, you're not a victim. You've created everything that's in your life. Whole different perspective, right? So no, there's things happening, and I'm having more people open up to me. What's interesting, I'm having more veterans open up to me and more older people open up to me. I hate to say this, but us old people, quote unquote, mostly set in our ways. Very rarely you run into some people out there that are flexible. I mean, you get to be 70, 80 years old and you lose that flexibility of changing what you believe. That's why people are born into a certain sect, religion, political belief, whatever it is, and they never get out of the box their whole entire life. They never ask a question. That's changed.
Absolutely. Now, I have a question. So once upon a time, you were dealing more with younger people, and it seems like the older population. Is there a difference then, Reverend Bill, in terms of how you approach those two different populations?
Yeah, there is. Older people, and when I say older people, it's a state of mind. It's a mindset. I mean, there's some people that are old at 40, seriously. I remember growing up in the 50s and the 60s, somebody was 40, 50 years old. They were old. I mean, oh my God, they're old. And now that's not even middle age. It's like, it's a state of mind. But from the mindset point of view, you have some people out there that are, they're in concrete philosophically, and they haven't, and they're not ready to open up to new ideas. But that is cracking. It's changing. What has caused it? To go back to your original question about the shift, there has been a shift, but it's not the majority that it's shifting,
Mm.
it's a very small critical mass, 1, 2%, that have raised their vibrational levels.
Mm.
And that causes the whole world to vibrate a little bit higher. That's what's happening. You still have people on the low end of the scale that are vibrating the lowest echelons, and you see them pick whatever political belief or religion or what war you're looking at. There's people out there with hate, anger, no forgiveness, mindset that's thousands of years old. But we have people out there to question it. And this new generation is, as much as they've been criticized, I see new souls, not new, I mean, thousands of years, millions of years old, but a newer energy coming in with this group. It's like they're ready for what's happening. And those that have been maintaining this materialistic plane with all the old beliefs, it's going to give them a shot and hopefully move them a little bit. But it's the minority, it's the critical mass, the 1 or 2%. It's always an individual thing. And when the individuals raise their frequency, their energy, it does change others. It's never the majority. I mean, even for bad things. I mean, look at Germany during World War II. It was a very small group of Nazis, yet they were able to take over the whole country, which is kind of scary. So bad people and good people that have high frequencies, because you can have a high frequency of evil and darkness. And we've seen that there's very charismatic people out there that you would say, whoa, you know, like Jonestown, right? Very charismatic guy. And people followed him to their death. So, but on the righteous side of this thing, in the light, I am optimistic. I am not preaching the end of the world. I'm not preaching bad things are coming. I see ripples of things happening. But if you look at World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and then you look at now, things are better. I mean, for people that don't know the history, they go, oh my God. No, from 1939 to 1945, 1,000 people each hour were killed from 1939 to the end of 1945. Millions. And then we dropped 2 atomic bombs. And we're the most merciful, enlightened country in the world. We hold ourselves up as this pillar. And yet we incinerated and vaporized the whole group. It wasn't an army. It was children, women, men. It was old people, young people. And we did that in the name of peace. And yet, I was in the womb when that happened, which is interesting. Since I've been born, there hasn't been one atomic bomb dropped to kill anybody. And more people got it. And there's more weapons available. So you got to ask yourself, what's stopping it? It's this 1%ers. It's this higher frequency people out there that are keeping a hold on this. So I'm very optimistic. This thing could have been crazy. We could have had World War IV by now, not even let alone 3. We could have been totally destroyed several times. So I'm a believer. I'm a believer in young people, which most people aren't. And I believe they need our help, and we need to leave them some semblance of a material world left. We can't destroy all the environment. We can't destroy their hope, and we can't cradle them with so much personal debt that they're never going to get through college or buy a house. All that goes with it. So I just preach to young people. I don't go into economics. I don't go to politics. I don't go to religion. I just go, fix yourself. Love yourself. Forgive yourself. Be grateful for everything that's happened to you. That includes cancer, includes deaths in your life, includes whatever it is that's happened to you. Everything is not a lesson, because a lesson sounds like a punishment. It's a gift. Your job is just to open up the wrapping and say, what am I going to learn from this cancer?
Okay.
And I have found that when people get cancer, they become profoundly more inquiring of the spiritual side of themselves. They go deeper levels than they would have never explored, and they move at a quicker pace towards this ultimate spiritual goal, more towards the light. And to me, it's a true gift, because I've seen people totally change their life in 6 months or a year and a half, and it would never happen to them had they not had this thing hanging over them.
Thank you, Reverend Bill. It's very hopeful message for the 1%ers. you talked a little bit about military, and I think it's important. I know people listen to your intro, important to understand your military background. And I just want to do a shift away from the one percenters for a minute and talk a little bit about some military things. So I want to go into the areas of what Natasha and I are seeing in some of the people, not only asking about self-healing, but they're asking about post-traumatic stress. So even though there's hope, and I believe that there's hope, some of them are dealing with stress, not just the military, but I would like to know your thoughts on your work with the military. What do you do preventive programs for the military, part A? What do you say to them? And two, the ones that have committed suicide, maybe they didn't hear your message, but the parents are left. We'd like to talk a little bit about A and B. What do you tell the military? And then what do you tell in the aftermath, please?
I have several audiences. And so when I'm talking to military, I really narrow the focus down a little bit differently. And with my combat veterans, I take the kid gloves off. I'm not into continuing this pampering. And I noticed that a lot of counselors that are not combat veterans, but they're so empathetic for these people, they don't slap them around and wake them up. It's like, well, they went through all these bad things, and everything they went through, I went through. I guarantee it. You take a look at my record; it's pretty heavy stuff. So they don't pull that on me. I have another rule. If you got a sad story to tell me about combat and all this stuff, I only listen once if you think I need to know. Once you told me once, I don't care how many more times you come to me for help, we never discuss it again. It's dead. And that's how we have to treat it. It's the past. It's done. You can't fix it. You move forward. And so I've worked with a psychiatrist up in Seattle, Tacoma area. He's a VA doctor, and he was putting together a book on PTSD. I should have it back there on my shelf someplace. Or it's over, maybe I'll show it to you. But he's working with this medicine man in Colorado, this old guy. He was about 80 years old or something. And they decided to look at how Native Americans treated their warriors when they came back from a battle, before the white man. I mean, talking when Indian tribes against, Cherokees against Comanches or something. And they had these ceremonies. And because they felt even though you came back physically, your spirit was wounded or your spirit was dead. And so the entire community, the village, the tribe, the whatever you wanted to call it, the community, right? They would greet these guys when they came back, the survivors. And they'd have a ceremony war, and they would do sweat lodges, they would do chanting, they would do dancing, they would do all these things to heal their spirits. Even though they came back physically okay, they would work on their spirits. And, the mothers, the fathers, the kids, everybody, it was everybody's job to help them. And so he's got a book out there, and it's basically, he's telling veterans, he says, if you try to fight this thing on your own, you got a problem. And you have to find your village, your tribe, even if it's only amongst other veterans, and their families. All right. So that was the premise of doing that book that I helped work on. And then I went to Kellogg, Michigan, to the VA, and I worked on a PBS television special called The Art of Healing. And I developed these manuals for the VA, which is interesting. I did all this work. I developed these 3-volume manuals, and all this stuff. And then the VA copyrighted it. My name was disappeared from the whole thing, and they all got a bonus for my work. And then they realized after I developed all this work identifying PTSD and all this stuff, that if they fully implemented, they couldn't afford it because almost everybody's got PTSD. It's like, well, we can't. So anyway, but it made a nice film for public television, and it got them all their bonuses. But then I noticed about 4 or 5 years ago, this was 20-something years ago, a few years ago, I went into a VA hospital in Phoenix, Arizona, and I saw these manuals on their shelf. They got my program running. So the people in the program don't even know I wrote it. It's word for word mine. They didn't change anything except eliminate any reference to me personally, anything I said personally. But anyway, so go back to suicides, because when you deal with PTSD, that has to be foremost in the back of your mind. That's always a possibility. If you fail them, they fail themselves. If the community fails them, this is a community thing. It's not just the veteran failing themselves. It's all the pieces of this puzzle. And so when I go out and I do free workshops for veterans, I don't want the veteran to show up by himself, because part of the problem is incorporated and living with those people in his household, his family, his wife, his children, his great-grandchildren, his grandchildren, spouses, even neighbors, friends, or anybody that's in his community. I'd say, come on, it's for all you guys, because not only does the veteran suffer, it's like a disease, a communicable disease. You come home and you're angry and you're stressed out and that rage, even if not expressed, because you, Natasha, you've counseled people, some people don't express rage, but it's in there and it eats them up to get a heart attack or whatever, right? But it's infectious for the whole, if you're a child of a PTSD veteran, or a sibling of a PTSD veteran, or an aunt or an uncle, it's damaged you to some way. And then if the veteran succeeds, which is a terrible word to use, but if they're successful in their limiting their body, killing themselves, everybody shares in the guilt, even though they're not really guilty, but they feel that way. I should have known better. I should have seen the signs. I should have believed them. All this should have. Bottom line, the decision is always made by the individual. So I have to, when I talk to these groups of people, I always have to start with the premise that some of the people in the room are on the edge of it, or have already experienced it, or survived it. And I haven't been wrong. It's like, I've never underestimated. I thought, well, no, it's real out there. And if you guys, Donna and Natasha, if you're both out there helping people, you're not only helping the veterans, because you may be getting the people that are related to the veterans. It's all the same problem. So, yeah. So it's a different approach. My approach is you have to have the tribe. You got to get everybody involved. You can't do it alone. Mm-hmm. You got a 12-step program for all the addictions in the world. Where's the 12-step program for PTSD? That's something I just come up with. I'm thinking about this. I'm thinking, no, we need a program, same way, making restitution, making peace with the past, forgiving yourself, all these things that somebody could sit down and develop, throwing it out to you guys, you're the professionals. And we need to move forward. Unfortunately, this is not the only thing that causes PTSD. We're talking about veterans. I realized very quickly when I developed this manual for the VA, and I started working with police and fire departments in Michigan and Wisconsin along the Great Lake areas. And I wrote their manual, and they're telling me, you don't have to rewrite it. Just change some of the wording and definitions. That's all. I go, really? Same exact issues. From a first responder to a police officer. I mean, there was a poor cop that, some kid flashed a cell phone at him in the dark, and he shot the kid, wounded the kid, really hurt the kid. And the kid was like 14, 15 years old. And he thought he had a gun. And then this officer just went, he could never work again. I mean, he just was done. And so there's guilt, there's things. So I'm always betting on hope. I've been going around the world. I went to Germany, and here's a different problem. I went to Germany, but the German government, the military knew I was coming, and they brought me, when I was in Berlin, they took me out to a secret military base outside of Berlin in the hills. And we did a ceremony. The people dying over there, the military that are fighting, people don't know this, but the Germans were involved in Afghanistan and Iraq and all these different places, and in Africa, people don't even know about, Somalia and all these things. They've lost a lot of guys. And the German people are not responding at all, because they got this horrible image of World War II Nazis, right? I mean, there's like World War II. Being a veteran, you don't even talk about the soldiers. You don't honor soldiers. You don't talk about somebody got a medal or wounded. It's like, it's foreboding. It's like, oh, you can't wave a flag. They've gone the other extreme, the young people there. So when a person goes to the military, there's no glory there. There's no community going, well, thank you for your patriotic service. It's nothing. And when they get killed over there, they have these little quiet little, on the base, this little graveyard place. And so what they did was they had a bunch of these guys get killed, and some of them were killed with an American unit. I think it was in Africa or someplace. And they had Americans and German soldiers that were killed. And where it happened, they built a little altar and stuff and did something. They shipped that whole thing back to Germany. They rebuilt it on a secret base in a forest. And they had their names there, and I was invited, and I did a ceremony for all these guys. And they had of course, they had the German names, and they had things, flowers and stuff hanging on them. And the Americans had nothing on them. So I have this dog tag that I normally wear to Spiritual Warrior Ministries. I took my dog tags and put them on the Americans, thing. And then they have all these trees. And I started walking through the forest, and every tree is dedicated to a dead soldier. They go to your family and say, go to the forest on this base, pick a tree. That's your tree. You can hang a picture of the person. You can put anything on there you want. You can decorate it. You can plant flowers around it, wherever. So you go through this forest of mourning, of honor, a memorial forest. And it's so moving because you see tree after tree after tree. You see a picture of a young guy, and they got it in plastic so it doesn't, fade away. Everything. And women, and it's like, and then the people come and they'll drop the ashes there, whatever they want to do. So that was a moving ceremony. I've been going around the world trying to work with commando units in Scotland and England, because they've been having problems, in the same part of the world fighting terrorism. I haven't had any success working with the Russians. 6 years ago, 7 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, I contacted some authorities in Russia, higher ups, right? Yeah. And I told them I wanted to come over and work with their veterans of their Afghan war, because those guys came back and, they quote unquote lost the war, and it was a shame. They came home, nobody was helping them. They were in bad shape. So I talked to this official and I go, I'd like to reach out and do a program to help your veterans, Afghan veterans. He says, we have no problem with our Afghan veterans. I said, what do you mean? He says, oh, they're a bunch of alcoholics and drug addicts. They're all in the street. We have no problem with them. They're all losers. I'm going. And they wouldn't let me do my program. And they confirmed the fact, exactly what I was trying to make. But the point didn't hit with them. So I'm looking at what's happening now with Israel and Gaza and Ukraine and Russia. My job is not done. When those wars, I was going to say end, they're never going to end. When they level off to a non-fighting in the news, but the anger and the hate is always going to be there for our lifetimes. It's not going away. But both veterans on both sides, because I don't take politics in this thing. Because a Russian vet, he's out there, he got drafted, he doesn't hate those guys, he has to go. And the Ukrainians are fighting for their, so everybody's fighting for what they think is right, or they got stuck fighting. It's politics, the politicians that have created the mess. So worldwide, when wars are over, I don't care if it's in Korea, Vietnam, whatever country you pick that's had a war, when the war's over, the veterans are done. They're not a consideration anymore. That's it. Oh, we took care of their wounds. They're not bleeding anymore. But that's not the wounds that are really hurting. It's the deeper wounds. And it's people like you, what you guys are doing, helping people. Because this thing, veteran comes back, and there's not many veterans anymore. We're talking about a real small minority here. But they're infecting the people around them. And so for every veteran, there's 20 people that have been infected by this PTSD. And then to go back to what I started to say originally, women have been raped or bad divorce or abused, or men that have been abused. I mean, it's a two-way street here. People have been in car crashes. People have had people in their lives die, hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, lost everything. Traumatic things happen, not just war. And so every year we're creating an endless reservoir of potential people needing help. Label it anything you want. PTSD, maybe it's a good thing, bad thing. I don't know if it's a good label, but people are hurting psychologically, emotionally, and spiritually and physically, it has an impact. And you know, it doesn't just affect the spirit and the emotions. It actually affects the body. And if you're a doctor of any kind, then you realize that heart disease and the kidneys, the liver, and the stomach, and the gut, all these things tied emotionally. So when you fix them emotionally and spiritually, there's a ripple effect.
Yeah, and it tells our audience what a worldwide person you are. Even though we're seeing people in the United States, we know that you're doing the worldwide effect. Natasha, do you have one? And then I'll go after you.
Oh, sure. I just wanted to know, Reverend Bill, is it at all possible to have a program, a system where you can, I don't know, it's almost like dealing with the potential traumas that will happen. I mean, is it wise to maybe set up something where you're more proactive? So like women, men, here's potentially what you're going to see, but let's prepare for that. I mean, is that logical?
Oh, I like that. Preparation is everything. It's like New Orleans. Let's go to New Orleans with Katrina. That damaged a lot of lives where people socially uprooted from 2 or 3 generations living in New Orleans. Now they're living in Houston, of all places, right? You know, and they kind of shuffled around the school district. I know some personal stories. That was uprooting those children. Now that was what, 15, 20 years ago, whatever it was, right? Those children are now adults. They have trauma from that that's never really been resolved. Yeah, they got shelter. Yeah, we got them food. Somebody got them a job. Money fixes, material fixes. But we didn't fix them. And those young people going into new school districts and new things and social, and, you know, they might have been a star football player in New Orleans and now they're stuck in Houston and they can't even make the squad because they're bigger, you know, bigger, better, faster. I mean, Houston is crazy on sports, right? So these people got up socially, their whole life got messed up. Their friends aren't there. So yeah. So I'm at one step further because I'm not creating an organization is a lifetime commitment and that's a lot involved there. I'm teaching people to become teachers. I'm teaching what I know to a group that's bigger than me that can then extend my hands and my work. So my job right now is I go out worldwide. You were asking that earlier. I go out worldwide. I mean, since last year and a half, I've been to India and Qatar and Czech Republic and Switzerland and Germany and Iceland and, you know, Hawaiian Islands and, you know, London and all that stuff. So it's going everywhere, right? And I got much more going. I think I'm going to Japan and Seoul, Korea, and I'm going to Singapore and Australia and a couple of places. But it reaches a point, and I think the point's coming in the next year and a half, where I'm saying, I'm not going out anymore. I'm going to do videos. I'm doing more books because I'm almost 80 years old, right? And I don't want to sound the alarm for young people, but you know, when you get to be this age, travel is harder. It's going to India is harder. You know, it's like 12 and a half hours from California time zones, right? You know, so you're already, and then you're on an airplane by the time you get to the airport and then you get to where you're going, it's about 36 hours by the time, you know, all the driving and everything. And I'm not quite jumping up and down about the joy of going out. My last trip, I was gone 50 days from home, you know, and I did 25 workshops in 5 countries in 50 days, counting travel. That's too much. When I say workshop, I'm talking 8 hours or 3-day workshop or whatever. But when I'm doing them, I got all the energy in the world. I'm there. But now, if you follow me lately, I've been home for a month and a half. So it's like, no, the old guy is kind of sitting down going, no, I got to get my acupuncture done. I'm getting cupping done. I'm getting all this. I'm preparing my body so I could go out again. But yes, preparation. But the preparation has to be an individual thing. So I'm teaching people to be self-healing, okay? Self-loving. It starts there. If you don't love yourself, you can't heal yourself. And if you're always looking for a savior, if you're always looking for somebody outside of yourself to help you, to complete you, which I hate that. Oh, you complete me. I'm sorry. I saw that movie and I laughed. I go, nobody completes you. You got a problem. You should be seeing a psychiatrist, really. Nobody should complete you. You should be complete, right? I want people to realize when they look in the mirror, that's who's going to help them. Ultimately, they have to help them. They are their own teacher. They're their own guru, ultimately. Now, we both been, all of us have been around a lot of people that are delusional. They're not here. They're not there yet. They do need someone else to hold the mirror. They need somebody else to coach them, train them, guide them, teach them, direct them. But at some point up this spiritual stairway to the light, to heaven, whatever, someplace along the line, you got to realize that ultimately it's all you. You can get a guru, you can get a teacher, but ultimately the guru or the teacher will tell you, you got to do all the work yourself. And then I'll bless you, but you got to do all the work yourself. Mm-hmm. That's the whole secret of it. You have to do all the work yourself.
So, Bill, I love what you're saying. It's a two-pronged attack for the individual, for the self-healing, and I understand that. And number two, building a tribe and community, because I love that. And I would like to know, I think it would be very effective to build a Zoom community so you don't have to travel, so that we can do things on the Zoom, because I can remember one of my patients looking up at me. I gave them steps, do this, and then they said, how do I get started? So I think that's a really important message that you're giving. Number two, I think we do need to build a tribe in a very strategic fashion. So I love what Natasha and I were talking about, building a tribe of healers. So when you come into a place, it's not just one skilled person, but it's several skilled people. So to help you fix your first physical, but we know that behind the physical is a lot of emotion, and Natasha and I have spent a lot of time talking about that. But I'd like to hear what you would have to say about building those two communities, one for self-help and one as a what do you call it, a healing tribe. I love that.
No, I see. Right now, my job is, because I'm kind of on the edge of that, because what I want to do is I want to develop people that will carry that out. Mm-hmm. I'm realistic enough to know I've had congestive heart failure for 15 years. What's the odds? Come on, 15, 16, 17 major heart attacks, quadruple bypass surgery, diabetes, bad liver. I mean, the list goes on. And yet I'm still active. But I got to be real. 10 years is a push. That's a push, 89, 90, that's a push. So, but if I take everything I've learned, and I'm finding people, I actually am finding people. And I find these people, and I let people self-select, because I don't want, if they think they can do it, okay, come on in. It's up to them. There's no grading, there's no diploma, but I want to train people on how to listen and how to teach. And most people are so involved with the talking, they forget that people can actually learn from example. Teaching by example is huge. And teaching by energy and frequency that you emit, that's the part I'm having trouble getting people to resonate with. It's, well, just tell me what you got to do. Okay, you put your hands on, you do this, you do the razzle-tazzle. No. I could wave my glasses at you and have the same effect as doing this, because it's the power, it's the frequency within me, and I can't teach them that. They have to earn that. Mm-hmm. It has to come about through their spiritual pursuits. It's not an intellectual thing. It's not, you're going to read a book. Reverend Bill's going to write a book on how you could heal people. No. I'd be happy if you heal yourself. That's a good start. That's where you got to start for everything. So finding these people that can go out there and do Zooms and do events and reach out regardless of their full mantle of abilities. I mean, taking them where they're at. I've given up trying to find people that will follow the path I did, 40 days, 40 nights, no food, meditating for days. I mean, the people they're not going to go off to a monastery and go to the Himalayas in a cave like I did. They're not going to be doing that, right? So I'm taking people where they're at in a real world. And if they have skills, you got people that are psychologically, they got these degrees in psychology and social work and all this. Great, we need that as part of this community. And then we got people that are actually doctors. Great, we need that. And then we got people that are new age healers, like they're into acupuncture and they're into energy frequencies, sound frequency healing, and need all these modalities coming together. All these modalities coming together into one community, because one doesn't serve all. Even my message that I put on video or I go out and do a thing, not everybody in that audience will get it at the same level. There's somebody else that could translate what I'm doing, because I've seen this, and I'll explain to them. From that person, they go, oh yeah, I get it. So there are people out there, for example, take a look at the new age out there. You got guys that follow Tony Robbins. You got people that follow, whatever they are, name names, right? And you go, wow, they all have an audience. That audience radiates with that. When that audience advances past that, they'll look for the next step. But you need the guy that goes, oh, there's only now, and he writes 10 books about now, which is like, okay, great. What else can you do, right? So, but you can't beat these people up and criticize them. It's like, no, there's people that need those basic steps. They need to know that. They need to know this. So whatever level you're at, there's a leader out there for you. There's a teacher out there for you. Eventually, the teachers get less and less as you go up. It's harder to harvest the qualified people. So again, teaching people to self-heal, self-love, self-teach. That's the issue. So anyway, so yes, a community, and then the community is teaching these people on an individual level to do what they need to do. But there are people out there that actually need direction. Like I think Donna was saying, well, they come to me, well, what do I do? What's the next step? What's I do? 1, 2, they're used to, I do 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, you know what? It's not that easy, but sometimes I find myself, because people come to me for healing, quote unquote, and things. If they really believe what I'm doing, I don't have to do nothing. You're done, right? Somebody else, I put my hand on them and they feel the energy. Oh, okay, that did it. Somebody else, I tell them, well, drink this tea for 30 days and you'll be good. Whatever I tell them, that's what they needed to hear. It works for them because they accept that level of belief, right? So same thing with the teachers. They can believe certain levels. So to me, everything is a community, because there's only one. There's nothing outside of the community. Me helping you, Natasha, is the same thing as me helping me. What's the difference? So there's 3 basic things from all scriptures. What the scripture says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. Well, if I teach people to love themselves, and then I teach them that God and you are one, so when you're loving yourself, you're loving God. And then if you're loving God and you're loving yourself, well, then you're loving your neighbor. That's what you're supposed to do. And if you're loving your neighbor, what's the other scripture say? Love your enemy. That covers it all. So when you realize the oneness of all, meaning not just people, it's animals, it's plants, it's rocks, it's flowers, it's everything. It's all. And there is no people going to go, well, I got to travel around the world, do this, and I got to go to this special place to go to this cave, and I got to do this. And I go, close your eyes. I'm in Babaji's cave. I don't have to be there physically. I've been there physically. I close my eyes, the same place I was when I was there. Because there's only one here, one now, one space, one time. There ain't no other place to be. So to travel to a holy mountain or to travel to a holy temple, it's beautiful, it's inspiring, it helps your energy, and because you believe that. So it's all good. You don't have to go anywhere. Just meditate. So when you realize the oneness with all, and until somebody's had that true oneness experience, or they've had samadhi, or they've had something happen where it's, even if it's only moments, oh, they're one with it. It's because there's people just a moment, and that's enough to get them going their whole life. They buy the concept. So I tell people, if you haven't experienced it, it's only faith. when you experience it, it's truth. So practice all the faith you want if it makes you happy. But focus on truth, which is your own experiences. Like, consider you're not delusional, because there's people out there tell me they talk to Jesus every day. And yeah, and their dog talks to them. And community is us. There's nothing outside of the community. And that's why it's very selfish for America in particular, and other countries. It's Germany first, I've seen when I was over there, and it's America first here, and it's the England first, and it's like, and now it's India first. India is like, everybody's looking after their own. Wow, that's not evolving. But that's the way it looks on the surface. Below the surface, even though we got all these rascals out there with their propaganda of hatred and beware these bad guys coming in, we're danger, we're selling fear. Churches and politicians sell fear. That's their job. Fear of going to hell, fear of having invading hordes coming across the border, whatever it happens to be. It's all fear. But when you focus on that self-love and realize that everybody is you, fear is gone. Nothing to fear. As that great American once said, we have nothing to fear but fear itself. There is no fear. Fear is the opposite of love.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for those wise words. Thank you. Natasha.
There was so much that you gave us. Very powerful was the oneness. And I know that sometimes when I'm dealing with my own patients, it's almost like you give them a permission slip to heal, right? And sometimes they just need that. So that resonates with me quite a bit, Reverend Bill. I want to talk about oneness, this oneness state, because what is that feeling? Have I felt it before? I don't know. Like, can you describe that? Is it a flow state? So when you say experiencing that oneness, if you can, give me something maybe tangible that I can say, so aside from faith, give me something else.
We'll talk about two kinds of onenesses. There's that oneness experience where it truly is, you are everything you see, visualize, touch, smell. You are literally everything in the cosmos and the creation. That's mind conscious expanding thing. It's you have that, you don't need explanation. But other people, regular people, why do you go to nature? Why do you walk on the beach? Why do you stand in the rain? Why do you watch waterfall? It's that moments where your mind is and your emotions are quieted, and you're playing with a puppy, or you're watching the birds in a tree, or a koi fish, and you've got that feeling of they're part of your world, they're part of you. It's nature itself. You might feel it around a newborn baby. It's just that loving thing, wow, this is my child. And it's just, especially for a mother. I mean, you got to feel one. I mean, it was part of you at one time. But there it is, right? It's still you. So yeah, people feel it at different levels. People can feel it listening to music, being in love. They're all tastes of oneness. But true oneness is knowing no separation, zero. That mountain and you are one. The star is you. The more your ego identifies with your personal history, like I was born and I've done this, I've done that, had past lives. The more you identify with that, that's your ego, right? The more you identify with that, the more you are separated from your knowing your oneness. That's why when you meditate, you kind of forget about the ego, right? Or that's the goal of it. And you're more meditation, and pretty soon you find moments in meditation where, think about this, people meditate, and they may not have this great samadhi experience, but they're meditating, all of a sudden an hour goes by and they go, where was I? It's like they're kind of like out of it, kind of in of it, out of it. Don't analyze it. You were dissolving. You were getting back to that oneness. So yeah, in small bites, all of us experience it. And the people at the lowest vibrations, even they experience it. If they take their shoes off and stand on the dirt, and experience the earthing movement, and They got the sunshine on their face, and they hear the birds. Talk about medicine. You go to a doctor, he's got a patient that's been in the house all the time, never goes outside, never exercises, never in the sun, never has her bare feet on the ground, never meditates, eats garbage prepared food, and they're coming in sick. And what's the doctor give them? Medicine, more medicine. I'm going, sunshine is medicine, earthing is medicine, meditation is medicine, whole, natural, fresh fruits and vegetables, medicine. All these things, and joy is medicine, and forgiveness is medicine. So when you got a patient that's coming to you and having all kinds of problems, and you look in their life and they're still angry, they may be 60 years old and they're still angry at their parents who have been dead for 20 years. You got to go, well, you know what? This may be part of your liver problem or gut problem or whatever else. I went to a Chinese doctor a couple of months ago when I came back, and she looked at my fingernails, toenails, tongue color, pulse. I mean, sounds in the stomach and everything, pushing and stuff. I'm going, wow, I go to Kaiser, blood pressure, your weight, that's it. It's like you could have rotten gums in there that's making you sick, right? They would never tell you that. So it's like buying a horse. People that know how to buy a horse, you check the teeth, you check the hooves, you check the mouth, you check the eyes, right? You look at the ears. Anyway, so it's the same thing when we're trying to help people. You got to look at all of them. And in my case, there's a lot of people out there looking for the physical and the psychological. I welcome all the help on that people want to give these people. I'm looking at the spiritual mostly, because I think that is the root cause of all illness, is spiritual. And when that is out of whack, then it affects you emotionally, physically. You cannot be healthy if you're spiritually not right. And spiritually means things like anger, hate, fear, all these emotions play with your spirit. So again, in the next 30 to 50 years, I'm not going to see it, but maybe Natasha will see it. And me and Donna will be out of here. But there will be more healing done with sound frequencies. Cancers are already starting on cancers, but they'll find a way. And eventually, well, you can write this down, put it on the video. Eventually, they're going to find ways to change the frequency of your thinking, your brain, for schizophrenia, for bipolar, for depression. Instead of finding some psychedelic drug or something else or whatever they got to do, let's just change the frequency. It's out. It's electrical. Something's out of whack there. We need to fine tune it like I do a piano. No, an old piano, it sounds terrible till you get somebody to tune it. How about the brain? If we get somebody to tune it to the right frequency. So the healing of the future is going to be more on sound frequency, electrical currents of various kinds. It's all about energy. And we've known that for 20,000 years. And now we're going to rediscover it in the next half a decade, or in half a century. We're going to rediscover that energy really is the crux of all healing. And so food creates energy or depletes energy, the type of food you eat, chemicals, everything in your lifestyle changes your energy, including the way you think. So you can't go out and change the whole entire public, but you can change one person at a time. Start with yourself, maybe somebody in your family, maybe somebody, but your example that will change people. And if you're powerful enough, then your frequencies. I'll make a point of this. I spent time in India with people that didn't speak a word of English. We never had a word. Spent 3 days with this Tibetan monk. I learned more than anybody that I ever learned in my entire life in 3 days. Never changed a word. It was just unspoken. So it's for us people that like to radiate these wonderful vocabulary and discussions and throw words out and sound, pontificate and go on and on. In truth, You have to have the energy behind it to have any impact. Otherwise, you might as well watch Netflix. It's got about much motion as power as that. Watch a sad movie, cry, big deal. Watch a healing movie that has power and energy. I say that because people are watching some of my quote unquote healing videos. And I got something just this morning, a couple hours before this. It's changed them, and they send me a thank you note, and I'm going, no, I didn't do nothing. It's you. They forget the title of it. It's all self-healing. It's like going to a restaurant, you get a wonderful meal, and you hug the waiter. Oh, this is great. And I go, like, I didn't cook it. I'm not the cook. The creator cooked this for you. I just transported it. I was just the pipe that it flowed through. So for both of you in the healing businesses, you have to look at yourself as the conduit, the hands, the tool. But the carpenter, the cook, you are not. That's all the source. And I have to stop people all the time because they introduce me as, oh, he's a healer. And I go, no, don't say I'm a healer. I teach self-healing. You can put it at that. I teach self-healing. Because when you start thinking it's all you that did it, you lost the whole point of it, because nobody can be healed unless they want to be healed.
So you're kind of preaching to the choir here, because as healers, we say healers because people can come to us and we both understand we're the conduits.
Yeah, you have to know in the deeper sense, it's good that people can identify with that.
So, but we're doing more Chinese medicine. I'm Chinese medicine. And Natasha is Chinese medicine. She's also an acupuncturist in addition to chiropractor. So we agree with you on, we think it might even be closer, more than, faster than 30 years, because we're on the front lines, and we're using the electronic frequencies as Reiki masters, as alternative healers. So we have a lot of people that come there. And I like the idea, again, of the tribe and your work. People don't understand. I like what you had said. You can get healing vibration through a book. We put a sigli on the front of our book, and a sigli is an abstract design that we've put energy in. So anybody that picks up the book, they turn the page, they see the abstract image. They don't know it's a sigli, and we have healing energy in it. So healing and frequency and vibration come through lots of conduits. So we want to let people know that. And we love what you're saying about it's a channel through you, but it's channeled through all the work that you do. It's in the videos, it's in the books, it's everything that you touch, because you are the conduit, Bill. Say to my audience that what Bill's talking about is the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I do appreciate that. I have a question, Reverend Bill, and it's been nudging at me since you've come on screen. And I just have a quick question. I know you have two pictures in the back. You have Yogananda, yeah, and the other picture. Who that picture has been calling to me all session. Yes, Reverend Bill. Who is that? Talk to me about that.
That's the last portrait taken, or the last picture taken, of Paramahansa Yogananda. Moments before he collapsed and died. Just moments. I mean, literally less than a minute. They took that picture, he was smiling, and he read this poem about going back to India and the gods and all the stuff. He just read this beautiful poem, and then he died. And that's called The Last Smile. And that particular picture, the frame is not the same frame, but that picture I've had samadhi experience with. I've had a rainbow body experience with. That picture, probably, I've been hanging on to. It's old and faded. Probably 70 years, 60-something years.
Wow.
So it's there, not a very fancy frame or nothing, but that's the same as that picture on the other side with the scarf. But that one's more powerful because it's like, he just got ready. He was just getting ready to leave his body. And so Paramahansa Yogananda, he, for those that don't know, because I'm assuming that maybe somebody don't know, he wrote the book Autobiography of a Yogi, 1946. The year I was born, it was published. My mother had a copy when I was born, and that's how I learned about it. So I've been a follower since 1946. So came to America in 1920 and stayed till his death, except one trip back home. And so he started an organization called Self-Realization Fellowship. And it's interesting, he could have called it anything he wanted. He had an organization, he could have called it an organization, could have called it a church, he called it a fellowship. Talk about an idea of a community. That's always appealed to me, and people kind of just, oh, it's fellowship. No, that's really a big thing. It's gathering people together, to find self-realization and fellowship. So it's really kind of a big thing. And so anyway, that's my background on that. And of course, you're moved by that as I am. It's kind of over my shoulder all the time. So it's like a reminder, because I see as I'm looking at myself on the screen there. But we each have our path. We each have our dharma. Now, in India, for some people watching this, but dharma is like your purpose in life. Why are you here? That question, what's your dharma? Or they say in Germany, what's los? Anyway. So what's your dharma? So I've kind of known mine since I can ever remember. And it's at this stage of my life that I'm actually getting a chance to express and physically and actively pursue what I knew I was here for in the first place. But I had to go through all these other things, getting educated, raising family, taking care of, all these things, and going through getting blown up, wounded, you name it. A lot of stuff in my life, disease, things, heart attacks. I've gone through all these things, but I always known this is the path. This is what I'm supposed to do. I've been out now teaching this and doing this. In 2020, well, I had a reading, a Nadi palm leaf reading done in India in 10 years before that, in 2010, which I don't believe in this stuff. I didn't want to do it, but Guru made me go. And so I went and had it done. And all these things happened. Everything that they said would happen was predicted, happened, except for one. And it was, because it ended in 10 years. It was like, only goes to 2020. I'm going, oh. And so the guy told me, he says, well, if you go to India in 2020, you'll never go home. You'll die. It's not a good time to be out traveling for you. Stay home in 2020, which I did. I followed it. Everything else happened, right? And then towards the end of 2020, I'm going, now what? There's no future on it, because the only thing was on there was, this is the end for you, but it's not your decision. If Lord Shiva, Babaji, or wherever, gurus, the rishis or whatever, if you're needed for their work, you will give an additional time. Not your choice, not your gift. It's an assignment, it's work. So it's not like you could watch more Super Bowl games and take vacations. It's boom. And so 2020 came, and it was the fall. And then I met a guy online, which is a really nice guy, Dr. Q. And he runs the Indian Palm Leaf Reading Institute, something, I don't know, Indian Nadi Palm Leaf Reading, whatever it's called, Institute. And he's taken it upon himself to preserve this skill that Indians had for thousands of years, where they could read these channeled messages that are written on palm leaves from 2,500 to 5,000 years ago. It's a skill. But in India now, nobody wants to spend the years and decades of learning how to read these things and to do these charts and all that stuff, because they do better off doing a program on a computer. And all the young brainy people are all in India, are all making big money doing computer stuff, right? Technology. And so he wanted to preserve that. So he set up a system where people could get it done online on Zoom, and get their thumbprints. That's how they do it. And he can monitor it, and he would get these people paid, and so he makes no money from it, but he channels all the money pretty much to these people. And I'm impressed with them. So that's kind of what he's been doing. So he contacted me and said, hey, that's not the end. He says, I'm curious, because he listened to my talk about my previous. He says, I'm curious. I gotta know where, the next. I said, okay. So he gave me a free reading. It was a beautiful thing. It was a gift. I said, can I turn this down? Because as far as I can see, this is the end of my life, right? You're telling me that, maybe there's something else. Because I thought you got one reading, that was it. He says, well, you get a reading. The first one you got from Agastya, the main rishi. And there's other guys that might have gotten something channeled hundreds of years later, thousands of years later, because like 18 of these rishis. I said, okay. So it took them 3 or 4 weeks. They found my charts, and I had another chart, and it went from 2020 to 2035 or 2034, 32, 33, around there, about 13, 14, 15 years. And initially the reading basically says, you're given this extra time because you got to write books, you got to teach, you got to carry this message forward. It's not for you. And so that's just like, oh, okay. So if you accept this mission, we disavow if you're caught. Anyway, so I didn't self-dissolve. And we could talk about that another time, but that's another whole interesting subject. But Dr. Q is the guy to really talk about that, because it's 5,000 years ago, this great rishi sat there and channeled information about people coming in the future. I'm talking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10,000 years in the future from that moment. And when they needed that information, they would find it. And so when you go in and you get it, that's exactly when you need it. The only information you give them is your thumbprint. And they give you the name of your mother, father, your spouse, how many children you got, birthday, time, all that they get from your thumbprint. Which I thought at the time, what a bunch of, yeah, it's an astrology chart. No, it was not just it wasn't just an astral chart of some kind. It wasn't just star chart. There was much more to it. So here I am in this latter stages of my life, and I extended myself this last year a lot. I mean, it was too much going from the South Pacific to the East Coast, to all over California, and then all over Europe and Iceland and everywhere. It was just, I come back and my gut was messed up. I mean, it was just, find me a Chinese doctor and I'm going to take care of this. And I've been getting puppy and acupuncture, colon cleansings, you name it. I've had everything you think of, herbal teas. If I go and she says do it, I do it. So I just had it done yesterday. I had 36 needles in my head, neck, back, and and then what the suction comes before that, and and if you look at me afterwards, oh my God, it looks terrible. I mean, it's all black and blue and big. It looks like I got attacked by a giant octopus, but it's working, and I really believe in energy. See, this is part of it. I believe in the method and the modality. Therefore, it works better for me. If you get somebody that totally is fighting you and doesn't accept and believe the concept of energy, then it's a lot harder. Like trying to fill a bathtub up a drop at a time from an eyedropper. You do it eventually, but it's going to take a long, long time. People, you got to be open. So if you believe in Western healing, great. If you believe in Indian medicine, great. Whatever you believe in is important, because what you believe in, you create, you materialize, you manifest. Now, I personally think it manifests quicker and better when you focus on the energy part of that. That's why all these energy people that work with their energy thing, because a lot of energy healers out there have nothing. I mean, I'm sorry, I've seen it. And they're really beautiful, kind, beautiful people, but they've been to a weekend and became a master of some energy healing process. So I'm going, you're a master. Oh, yeah. Okay. They got the movements down, but it's like there's no heart, there's no soul, there's no frequency.
We got heart and soul right here for you.
Yeah. Kindness goes a long ways. The desire to help goes a long ways. And the more empathy you have, you up the amperage a little bit, but most people just make, if they're not a real high energy frequency people, they'll do somebody and the people, oh, I feel better, because they feel better because they want to feel better and they believe this person. And it'll last for a few days. They felt better for a few days. But how many are healing broken bones, which I've done? How many have broken teeth, which I've done? Oh, how many people have taken people from a trance, totally in coma, and brought them out, which I've done? They're not doing that. They're doing feel better. Okay, or I don't feel better. You know, that's all mind stuff. So, but the mind, you don't want to knock it. The placebo effect is huge.
Mhm.
Placebo effect works because it's using your mind. Nothing wrong with placebo effect. It works. Use it.
Thank you so much, Reverend Bill. Natasha, do you have a follow-up? If not, I have a comment and finish.
Yeah, I'm good. The last comment Reverend Bill touched upon was my question. My question was the placebo effect. So it ended perfectly for me. And I
Yes.
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And for me, Reverend Bill, what we're called on our mission, and you and I are about the same age. And so I just got called to a mission also that I found that very interesting. So I think they're using all the things that you and I have done in our lives. It makes it credible. We've done this. We felt this. This has happened to us. And people understand that. They know that it wasn't a weekend course that we took. So I appreciate it. So Reverend Bill, do you have any final thoughts for our audience? And we need to finish up here pretty soon.
Let me throw out my usual thought that I always like to leave people with is this. If you want to change the world, if you want to heal the world, you have to start with you. Okay? You have to love yourself before you can do anything. You have to forgive yourself, and that allows you to forgive everybody else as well. And then accept everything that happens to you, everything as a gift. So in other words, the ultimate appreciation means appreciating cancer in your life, or like in my life, I've been fighting cancer since 1979. I love my cancer because cancer is my enemy, so I love it. But it's given me credibility when people see all that I've been through. People watching this, they don't know the history here, but the nose has been cut off, amputated 3 times. This nose has been totally gone. Forehead's been cut off. Top of the head's been cut off. I've had like 15 surgeries, facial surgeries alone in the last 3 years. 300 some stitches here. And yet I heal. I put my hands on my face and I give myself self-love. I heal myself. I forgive myself, and I'm grateful. And so not only do I heal, but if you look at older pictures of me, if you go look at my older videos where it's 10, 15, 20 years ago, some photo or something, and you look at me now, I'm older looking then than I am now.
Oh yeah.
That's me. Now look at me now, younger eyes even. So love heals. And as you both practitioners, by loving your patients, coming in, visualizing them, you don't have to say anything. It's an inside thing. When you prescribe, do this, take these herbs, do whatever. If it's done with love, people will know. That's what makes mother's cooking the best cooking that you could ever get, better than any restaurant, because it's got vitamin L, love.
Thank you, Reverend Bill. Well, we have to have you back because I don't know how many questions we did, but there's a whole lot more we got. So God bless you for your work, Bill, going out and doing things, and you've changed yourself. And if you listen to Monday's intro, you'll get a little bit more information about what he's been through. So he speaks from experience, and there's no other place that you can go for that well. Speaks from the source and from the truth. I want to thank you. Natasha?
Absolutely. It was truly a pleasure. I was so excited to speak with you, and you held that excitement. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity, especially the last few sentences that you gave so powerful, especially for me as the practitioner. So now I will approach these patients differently. And like, what a gift that is, right? So grateful. Thank you.
Blessings to you both.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast. We publish our Exploring Consciousness podcast on the Monday, Wednesday, and Friday of the second week of every month. Please check the podcast schedule and more on our companion website, exploreconsciousness.com. Thank you again for listening.